All right, everybody. Today we are going to take a look at how to create a title block and how to add attributes to it. This is really a useful thing. So borders put boundaries on our drawings. Get your name on it, which is important for copyright laws. And you need to make sure that you follow these instructions. Don't skip anything. Just do what I tell you to on this example. Okay, so our first step here is to set up our units, and you can type units on the command line, and you're going to do our settings as you see down here. The big change is where we have length here. You want to make sure we're on decimal and that our precision is 00. So I'm going to click on here. This is our layers thing. We're going to get to that in a couple seconds. But anyways, let's see. I'm going to type units. UNITS. There we go. I'm at decimal, and I've got my precision at 3 places after the decimal place. You change this by just clicking on this number box here and setting it to 3. And then I can say OK. I'll say OK. Now I'm going to just repeat that command for a second to show you something. So decimal is good for using when we're doing engineering type drawings, but if we were doing architectural, we would change here to an architectural units. But since we primarily use engineering, we're going to do decimals. All right, now we're going to set up our snap settings. And snap settings are going to create the little block that's down in the lower right corner of all of our title blocks. So I'm going to right click on the snap icon, which is the one that looks like a bunch of dots. It's to the right of the word model on the bottom side of our screen. And then I'm going to right click on snap settings. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that these settings right here, they're circled in red, are the ones that are set on our drawing. Big deal, we want to turn on our snap and on our grid. We want to make sure that our spacing for snap is 1/2 and that our grid spacing is also 1/2. And snap type that we've got grid snap on with rectangular snap also set. So let's go down here. I'm going to put my cursor on the thing that looks like a bunch of holes in a plate or whatever. I'm going to click on snap settings. I've got my snap turned on. I've got my grid turned on. My snap spacing is 1/2. My grid spacing is 1/2. And grid snap is on and rectangular snap. You'll notice that the default choice here is probably going to be checked, which is this check mark right here. And I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to slide down here and we're going to do zoom all. So we're going to just go to the extents of our drawing, and you can do this like 4 different ways. I'm going to type a Z and then an A, and you can also get this on the view menu. You'll see this list. You'll be able to type up or pull up, whatever you want to do. So Z and A. So I'm back here. I'm going to type the letter Z. I'm going to type the letter E. And you might see a little bit of a difference in my screen. Not much, but it is changed. And layers are really super important in AutoCAD, and they're really super useful. I'm going to read this because I think it's an important paragraph. So layers are vital to drawing in AutoCAD. It's kind of like taking a stack of transparencies with different pictures on it. You put the stack together and you get the whole plan of a building. Just using a building as an example. But you can turn off the visibility of layers, and different layers can be turned off. For example, plumbers, they don't care about what the electricians want or the electrician's plans. The electricians don't care about the roofers. that kind of thing. So you can turn off the plumbing layer for the electricians. You can turn off the electricians layer for the plumbers. You can turn off and turn on any layer. You've got the control of them. So we're going to right click and we're going to start a new layer. And then you're going to set up your layers as you see them below with the same colors and line types. Make sure that you set them up using the 0 layer as the layer that you're creating it from. When we draw our title block, which we're going to start doing very soon, you want to draw it on the 0 layer. The reason for that is the 0 layer, the title block will take on the parameters of whatever the layer is you insert it onto if you've used layer 0. If you don't do that, it's going to get a little bit screwy pretty quick. So make sure you read that again. Now here are the layers. Okay, we've got layer 0, so that's always our first one. So when I did this, I just clicked on that. I made sure it had the color white and the line type continuous. I then went back to 0 and I put in the visible layer, and I made sure that one was red and continuous. But notice the line weight isn't default here, it's 0.6. That's because we have to use, or we're going to use, the visible layer as our object layer for our drawings. Text is going to be white and continuous. Hidden is going to be blue and hidden type of lines. Dimension is going to be cyan and continuous. And then we're going to have center layer, which is green, and center also. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do that now. Alright, now it's time to draw the cut line for our architectural D size drawing in our drawings. And we're going to pick layers that we need to draw on. So first thing, go to File, hit the pull down, and Save As. And save this as TitleBlock.drawing. Save often because things go wrong. Save and save often. Believe me, I have in the past lost a day of work because I didn't save frequently enough. So that you learn your lesson pretty quickly there. So crazy ever instruction, make sure you draw everything on the 0 layer. Just trust me on that. Okay. So I'm going to go to my title block. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to hit Save. All right. Or if I need to, File and Save As, and this will give me a chance to save wherever my title block is. So I'll hit Save here, and I'm just going to say yes to that because I'm going to overwrite that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to create our actual title block, and I'm going to use the rectangle tool. My bottom left corner, so my start point is going to be 0, 0, no spaces in that. And then we're going to use the upper right corner of 36, 24. So let's go back to here. Okay. Excuse me. Here's the rectangle tool. It's in the draw panel. It's to the right of the word arc. It's the first level up. So I'm going to type 0, then comma 0, and hit enter. And then I'm going to pull up and to the right, and I'm going to type 36, 24. And I'll hit enter. And now this is a little too big, so what I got to do is I'm going to double click on my mouse wheel and it zooms out. Not quite done with this yet though. We have another thing we need to do. And make sure you're on layer 0 when you're doing this, okay? Alright, now this is the offset tool. It's in modify. It's all the way to the right in the modify box. It looks like a laying down U shape. I'm going to click on that. And it asks me to specify a distance. And the distance I want to specify is 1. So I'll hit enter after I hit the 1. Now I'm going to click on the box that I just drew, and I'm going to pull this to the inside and click. And now I have my border begun. Alright, so what we're going to do right now is we are going to turn on our snap and our grid so that we can work with the program here. So I'm going to go out to my software. I'm going to right click where it says grid settings, and I'm going to make sure I have snap on and grid on, and that my spacing is set for 1/2 inch for the snap and 1/2 inch for grid. And I'm going to say OK. Now I'll go back to the next thing, which is this guy right here. Okay, and it tells us in our directions to do the offset of 1 inch, which we have done right now at this point. Okay, we're going to create a text area on our title block where we can put in information. So we have our snap and grid turned on. That's why it's blue down here in the lower right hand corner. And let's see, we're going to add the lines that are shown in the next picture. The dimensions are there to guide you only. Start, by the way, thinking about a little bit of a logo that you might want to make. Don't worry about drawing it yet. You can be bothered by that later. Okay, so the dimensions here are 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 4 inches, 4 inches, and 1.5 inches. And remember, our grid and snap are 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, or 1/2 inch distances. So I'm going to click and bring this down here. Start the line tool, and if I just touch this corner and then go up 1 space, I'm going to click, and that is a 1/2 inch up. And what you should be able to see is that my grid here is going to snap from 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch. Now I can take a look down here and see that this says 3.5, and I can keep going across until I get to 4, and then click, okay, and come down, and then redo that. So I'll start my line tool again. I'll go up 1, skip, click, go across, click, and come down. Okay, let's take a look at that and see how that is in comparison. So we've got these 4 boxes right here. Now the next one is going to go line tool and go from here up, and this one is going to go full 8 inches. Well, I'm just going to type 8 here and hit enter. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a tool here called copy. So I highlight all of that, and I'm going to press CO for copy, and I'll click on the end on the right, and I'll pull this over to here, and that's going to give me my lower 2 boxes there, and I'll just come down. There's a million different ways to do this box. The last thing is I need my little box for the for my logo, and that's supposed to be 1.5 inches. And down here. So I use the rectangle tool to do that. You can draw it with lines or whatever, however you like. Now we're going to add text to our title block. So we're going to go to Home tab on the ribbon menu. We're going to select single line text. There are some issues with using multi-line, but whatever. Click where you want the bottom left of the text to start and type in a text height. We're going to use 3/16 of an inch. You're going to click in the titles that are shown below. That is going to be drawn by, title, date, etc. And I'll show you this. Remember, everything on our drawings is done in capital letters. We shout in drafting land, I guess is the best way to put it. And when we're done, we're just going to hit title, and this is the appearance of our stuff right now, or when we get this done. All right, so text right here, text. I'm going to hit the down arrow and types in single line. Now, you'll notice that my cursor is jumping from point to point. Here, I want to actually turn that off. So I'm going to turn off the snap mode here. Okay, let's go back to single line text. All right, I'm going to just put my cursor down here in this area and click. And it's asking me for a text height. I'm going to put in 3/16, which by the way is 0.1875. And the rotation angle is 0. And now I'm going to type in what I want this text to say. And so caps lock, TITLE, capital, and I'll hit the enter key twice, and I have the word title in here. Now, what I know is that this isn't very well centered, so I'm going to use this little grip to move this up, and I just clicked on the text. I got the little grip. I clicked on the little grip, and I just was able to move it up doing that. So that's title. Now I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on the copy tool, and I'm going to, let's see, I'll right click here and say endpoint, and I got to do this because my OSNAPs have been shut off, and I am going to actually copy this text from the endpoint here to the endpoint down here to the endpoint over here, and one more endpoint over here. You could just press F3 and turn on your object stamps. Now I've got title everywhere. The only place it belongs is up here. But I'll escape a couple times. Now I'm going to click on this text right here, and I'm going to type in DR by. Okay. This one is going to be scale. Okay. This one will be date. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to pull this over so you can see this. And oops, goofed. And this one is just going to be the college's name here. So I'm going to backspace, and I'll delete all that out, and I'm going to type in Gen C Community College. And what you'll notice is the G and E are extending past the edge of the title block. So I'm going to right click and highlight all of that, and I'll right click, and I should be able to change. Let me double click on this and see if I can. What I want to change is the width factor on here. So give me a second. All right, I found it. So I'm going to hit escape a couple times. I'll right click on this, and I don't get properties, but If I first left click on it, then right click, now I have properties available to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the width factor of this text. So I'll pull this over so you can see it. And the width factor is on here. It's in the text box. You might have to expand that down with the little arrow. Here is the width. It says 1. I'm going to put it in at 0.7, I believe it is, and hit enter. Well, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. I want to leave it as large as I can. Let's see, what does 0.8 do? Ah, well, that's not too bad. Just to goof with it just a little more, 0.85. Yeah, that fills it out pretty well. Okay. All right. So that's how we enter some of the text that's going to go into this thing. Now I got to check one thing. Drawn by your last name. I see. So I'm going to add this text, I believe, right here. You know what? I'm just going to leave it alone for right now. Okay. All right, we are almost done here. So remember some important points here, the blue text in particular. Text never touches title block lines. Never. That's why I had to change the width of the word Genesee Community College, or the words Genesee Community College. Text gaps and placement should be similar. That's why I use the endpoints of the lines to place the date or the title, word title all around, and then I modified the text afterwards. All text is in caps everywhere on drawings. We shout in drafting land, okay? If your name is something similar to John Jingleheimer Schmidt, you may need to change the width factor on text to make it fit in the space. I changed it to 0.7 first, and then I made it a little bit bigger based on what spacing I had. Let's see. It says change all text to the same width factor, but that's not a big deal to me. All right, so go back and read the blue notes. Make sure that your friend beside you who did not read the blue notes reads them. You may wish to fill it around the corners of your title block. You can do that if you want. You don't have to, but you do want to create a logo of some kind. Simple's best. Avoid complex pictures. Logos really make it easy to identify products or regions. Look for examples in this phone book thing. Okay, you don't know what a phone book is probably, but it was a book where you used to look up phone numbers and call people when phones were on a wall and not in your hand. Use your initials for geometric shapes. Avoid creating pictures. This is a logo that I kind of created. It's nothing special, that's for sure. Took me a long time to come up with something. I stink at coming up with ideas, but wait, we aren't done yet. We are for this video, but we've got one more thing we need to do. So why don't you see the next video, which is called Automating the Title Block.